Good day and a happy new year, fellow geeks. On this week's episode of Geeks of Azeroth, we're going to be talking all of our favorite Blizzard and gaming highlights from 2015. We're going to be talking about what we want from 2016 and a couple other things on this week's episode of Geeks of Azeroth. By geeks.
About geeks.
For geeks.
Welcome to Geeks of Azeroth! Hello. Welcome to the show. My name's Tarley, and with me we have... Not Zool, I almost called you Zool, but we've got Big Voodoo and Britzza. How's it going, guys?
Very good.
Good.
Good. It is 2016.
Yeah.
Already.
My liver still thinks it's 2015.
As does mine. Can you just a thought? It's weird to think we started this show in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Weird to think.
We're almost officially a year and a half old.
Mm-hmm.
We're almost nearer to 2 years than 1 year. That's quite scary.
Let's I guess start off. How was everybody's holiday? It's been we haven't done a show for a while. It took a bit of a holiday break. Let's talk about the holidays. Big Voodoo, Christmas and New Year's. How'd it go?
Well, a lot of time with family and such. Got myself a new mouse and a new headset. So
Very nice. How about you, Britzza or Big Voodoo? Did you celebrate the New Year in any way that your liver is in pain this morning?
not really. Like, I got drunk and played video games, but my liver does not hurt. I'm not that drunk.
That's probably the best way to spend it, to be honest.
Britzza, your holidays.
Yeah, Christmas for me, I guess it's the same with everyone, isn't it, really? Just spending time with family and eating lots. I think usually I try and limit the amount of food that I eat, and these last 2 weeks I decided to get rid of that limit, and I've just eaten and eaten and eaten, as if food was going to disappear. So I'm ready, I'm kind of prepared for the zombie apocalypse, but yeah, need to hit the gym. But otherwise, yeah, it was good. It was just, typical, lots of sweets, lots of food, lots of family, and then last night was a lot of other stuff, alcoholic mostly. So yeah, it was good. It was really good though. It's one of those things where I think I saw online loads and loads of posts about how the couple of days between Christmas and New Year, you don't really know what's going on. So I can't really say what I did in that time, other than I played some Heroes and some Fallout. But that's about it. That's all I can remember.
Oh, you can remember,
what about you?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of time with family. Having the split family deal means I get like 2 Christmases, and my birthday was also over the week, so 2 Christmases, 2 birthday dinners, and then got completely out of my mind last night, and was singing karaoke at a bar. I don't know how well I was doing, but it was fun.
That's the important thing. It's not how well you are doing, it's how well you think you're doing.
Exactly.
And that relates to how much you've drank. So
right, and it was a blast, so I obviously drank a lot. Could barely roll out of bed to do this show this morning, so here we are.
That's a heavy week for you, though. I mean, that's Christmas, birthday, and New Year in the space of almost 7 days, really, isn't it? So...
Yeah, my liver's kind of on vacation right now.
2016's a write-off. Bring on 2017.
All right, well, I guess we should jump right into the show. So, well, that was part of the show. But anyway, we're going to start off by talking about our highlights for 2015. And we're going to start with Blizzard highlights, because this is Geeks of Azeroth. This is a Blizzard show. We might as well talk about that first. We're going to talk about our top 5 Blizzard highlights of the year, and we have 2 highlights. All right, a big highlight for me for Blizzard was, of course, BlizzCon, as it always is through the years I've been going. But this one was definitely special because I went with a much larger group than I have gone before. It was kind of cool to bring the new guys along and have a blast with them. More people, made more fun, got to see Linkin Park. So BlizzCon was definitely one of my the biggest Blizzard highlight for me of the year. Or the Overwatch.
What about you, Big Voodoo? Any highlight that jumped straight to mind?
So, probably while I was at BlizzCon, my number one highlight was Life versus SOS Finals for WCS. It was insanity the entire time.
Yes, it was. I think we lost Britzza there for a second. Still with us, Britzza?
Oh, I might be fading in and out. Go on, sorry. Okay. Keep going without me.
All right, so you liked the StarCraft finals? Yeah, those were brilliant. A 7-game series. I mean, could have been better for that than that at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
What about you, Britzza? What is your biggest highlight that comes to mind?
I think just how Heroes of the Storm has done. I realise it's not really a particular highlight or event, but I think, and I realise it's not really a highlight, but just seeing how Heroes of the Storm has really sort of changed the sort of the offering that Blizzard has had, and just seeing how well it's done in the past less than 12 months, but still how well it's done has been a real highlight for me. For one, it's actually a game that I'm kind of good at. At least I can pretend I'm good at it. So that's why it's a highlight, because I don't feel like I'm massively behind the curve like I have been with like StarCraft and things. So just seeing how well that's done, how much fun that is for the community, and generally as well how well it's done getting into the esports scene. Because I think I said before BlizzCon, I wasn't sure how it was going to look and whether there was enough of a push for it, but undoubtedly I think it was the highlight of BlizzCon, rivaling StarCraft 2's tournament at least, I'd say.
Yeah, and aside from just the Overwatch beta, I think Overwatch in general, to me, is a huge highlight of 2015, just because we barely knew anything about it going into the year, other than what they talked about at BlizzCon the previous year. So we just got so many announcements, so many heroes that they talked about, and maps just gradually coming out like throughout the entire year. They were consistently talking about the game, getting hyped about it, and now and then the beta came out, and it was the incredible, awesome game, And now Blizzard, as of yesterday, now owns MLG. So that just happened. Also, since it was technically in 2015, that is a highlight.
Oh, wow.
Down to the wire highlight.
News of the week.
Yeah, right there. Blizzard now owns MLG, so that is going to be some pretty awesome things for esports pushing forward into 2016, but we'll talk about that a little later.
On that topic, for just 1 second, do you think they bought that for Overwatch?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think one of the other highlights that springs to mind has got to be the Warcraft movie trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're now officially in the same year as Warcraft being released. And the weird thing is that it kind of struck me after Star Wars is released that we could have potentially had the Warcraft movie a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's just if Star Wars wasn't being really picky with its dates.
Warcraft would have failed epically if it came out the same weekend as Star Wars.
Yeah.
It really would have.
But the trailer release, I think, was absolutely fantastic. Just the whole keeping it under wraps for so long, despite the fact that they were publicising it all those conventions.
Yeah,
and I realised,
there were a couple leaks, but they were such bad quality, nobody could really even tell what was going on in those leaks anyway.
Yeah.
And they were very well contained.
Exactly. And it did. And the thing is, it's hard to say that I heard a lot of people say about how the trailer kind of gives perhaps a bit too much away, but it is based on a story that a lot of people already know, so I don't think that's the point of it. But I just think it's that whole thing and that trailer has set itself perfectly for when the film gets released in 6 months.
And then seeing the trailer in the movie theater at Star Wars was really cool, just to see Warcraft up on the big screen.
Oh, did you get the trailer before Star Wars show?
Yes, I did. Also an Overwatch trailer, which was really interesting to see Overwatch in the movie theater.
Blizz just literally just getting their own back by saying if we can't have the screenings, we'll have the previews.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. It didn't show it for mine. I don't know what I got. I don't think I got any proper previews. Really rubbish films showing. But hey. But yeah, no, that's definitely a highlight of me, and I'm really looking forward to that coming out in a couple of months.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, Diablo did not really make any huge impressions in 2015 as far as a Blizzard title, or it's kept the seasons going. You guys,
Diablo's what Diablo's always done, and
and will always do.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just Diablo.
Diablo just goes at its own pace. It doesn't unless there's a new expansion. It just sort of ticks over. And that's what it's always done well. It survives so well.
You can't rush perfection.
You can't rush perfection. No, not at all. And actually, funny
you can
enough,
Zerg rush perfection.
you can Zerg rush. You can nuke perfection. Disgust. But I think Diablo. Funny enough, I only started playing it last year. So when I got my new PC, I installed it, and I've been working my way through that, and then I'll move on to Reapers sooner or later. So ironically for me, that has been a highlight of my year. Actually getting into Diablo.
You did finally get to experience it then.
Yeah, because I got rid of my Mac. Yeah. Well, I didn't get rid of it. It's sitting over there, but it's now retired from any sort of gaming.
I guess we should mention StarCraft. StarCraft kind of had something happen this year by releasing its final expansion, Legacy of the Void. So that's cool. It's definitely a really cool expansion. The storyline, haven't finished it yet, but it's very cool. Never been a fan of Protoss, so it's kind of hard for me to personally progress through that storyline, but it's cool stuff.
How's the StarCraft 2 scene sort of looking in terms of multiplayer?
2016 is going to be an odd year. 2015 was a pretty good year. Europeans actually started doing okay, which is kind of new because, normally it's just Koreans dominate. But there's actually some really good Europeans out there now. And then Blizzard's pushing towards trying to make all of the different servers more competitive with Korea. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that'll work. It's a big WCS change.
Koreans can only play half the games per week that anyone else can.
No, what they're doing is they're region locking people, so if a Korean wants to compete in America, they actually have to ladder in America, which makes, practice easier. And that's the idea behind it, at least. I don't know how well it'll work out, but hopefully.
It does make sense in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see more than just Polt, who's, still a Korean from America going to BlizzCon next year.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, because I always see the Americans in the qualifiers, but then you're right. I guess it's typical, isn't it? It eventually evaporates and it does come down to all Korean finals, or maybe you do get that rare European now. But I just, how is the American scene? Or the North American scene, I should say.
Terrible.
It really is. I mean, we have a few streamers that play and people like, but as far as like real competitive, it just doesn't really exist here as much as even on the European scene. I
mean, there's a very select few, like Pig, Polt plays in a, but I mean, they're few and far between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where we see the big tournaments, everything that's broadcast on Twitch, all of that's either coming out of South Korea or the UK, or not the UK, Europe in general.
I wish it was
usually
just
France,
the UK.
actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of French. And Lil Bao's French, I do believe, and he made it to BlizzCon last year. So
I'm just wondering whether when you get, maybe not so much with a new expansion, because I guess not loads is getting changed, but especially with Heroes of the Storm coming out and hitting the esports scene, you would think that the learning curve isn't as steep with that because everyone's learning. So
that is the big thing about StarCraft 2 is so many people are afraid to just even start it to begin with because it looks so complex from the outside, and nobody even wants to. It is, and nobody ever wants to take that initial step. Whereas like Heroes, Overwatch, all these other games that Blizzard are promoting for esports, Hearthstone. I completely forgot to mention Hearthstone. But yeah, they're all immediately accessible and very easy to understand the core concepts of the game, where StarCraft is not. And that is why I would think it's not as popular. NA.
That's the thing with Hearthstone. It's funny you bring that up because that is a game I think that Europeans have really latched onto. And I think
over 20 million people have latched onto that game. I mean, it is crazy.
It continues to be a huge moneymaker. So that's probably Blizzard's big highlight more than anything else.
This is Hearthstone. We're going to cancel all our other projects. Hearthstone.
I don't know, but
that's got to be a good day for him, though. Think about it. Like, we put almost no effort into developing this, and now we're making millions from it. Yeah, we can live with that.
So there is a rumor for 2016. There's not much credibility behind this rumor, but I would love it if it was true.
Say it anyways.
Hearthstone on console.
I could live with that.
I could totally see it happening, and with Blizzard buying MLG, it's kind of what people are like, hey, they could bring more of their games to console on a competitive scene.
I just don't. I just
StarCraft 2 on console.
Yeah, that would be an odd one. But saying that, I think with the fact that we've got VR headsets now being released into the markets, I think, imagine if you're playing Hearthstone with a VR headset for your Xbox One or PS4. That
would be incredible.
Absolutely amazing. That would be incredible. You're actually looking around the inn.
And you can actually see your opponent sitting across from you?
Yes. That would be absolutely amazing, and I would buy it instantly. Yeah. So you never know. Maybe Blizzard will just, start doing VR with a lot of its games. There's no reason why you couldn't have I
don't necessarily see it
into VR.
Yeah. I don't know which game Blizzard would actually implement it in first, but if they did any kind of VR, I bet you it would be amazing, because it's Blizzard.
It's kind of true.
All right, so anything else more on Blizzard highlights before we just jump into our, gaming highlights in general? Anything?
Nothing sticks out. It's all been actually quite good.
Right.
A lot of releases.
Yeah. All right, so now just on to gaming in general in 2015. There was a good year. It was definitely a good year for consoles. The PlayStation 4 and Xbox One definitely both saw their fair share of good titles, but I still feel like 2016 will be the better year for that. But still, I mean, as far as PC, console, I mean, it was a pretty good year. We saw a lot of good titles, but we also had a few titles that disappointed. Star Wars Battlefront.
Ironically, also one of the most recent ones. So
let's go over some highlights from 2015 gaming. Trying to find a list here of order of games that came out so I can remember how to start this year off. Anybody remember what came out in January?
I've got a list that we can all share and go through.
We have a list that we can all share.
So January, I'll start off January. So you had Captain Toad come out, which I think is one of those things where it's a Nintendo game, so it has its niche. If you're a Nintendo fan, great, but for a lot of people, obviously, it just slipped by. And then there's not really anything else there. There's the Saints Row.
We had Gat Out of Hell for Saints Row, which... Yeah, no, that happened.
Yeah. Saints Row's a great game, but I've never really got bothered to pick it up. So
all right, but let's hop right into February. February saw, I guess, one of the first of a trend that actually really happened in 2015, and that was a game that was super hyped. People played the beta, people were talking about it. It was super hyped at E3 the year before. It got all the Best of Show awards and all of these awards before the game ever came out. And then it flopped on its face, and that game was Evolve. And I loved Evolve when it first came out. I played it a lot. It was a really cool concept. The problem with strictly multiplayer games that only come with like 4 maps installed in the game, it tends to get old pretty quickly. Did either of you have a chance to play Evolve?
I didn't. No, I wanted to.
I think I played a couple maps at one of my friends' houses, but they're just, you're right, not enough to it. That's exactly what I experienced from it.
Yeah, it was a really cool idea. Monster versus the Hunters, very cool. But
it suffered the same problem as Titanfall.
Exactly.
It's literally, apart from the fact that there's a monster, it is kind of like Titanfall. The whole feel of it is Titanfall-y. And again, like you said, Tarley, it's just purely multiplayer based, and they got it all wrong because they limited the experience. And the problem is, it's the problem, and even games like Heroes has this. When you group random people together, the mechanics don't work out well all the time, and it does fall apart. And when your game is literally relying on that to be good experience, then you're screwed, really.
Yeah. So. There was a saving grace to February that came out, and it was another big hyped game, and it did surprisingly well, and that was Dying Light. If either of you had a chance to play that one, I would definitely recommend it if you haven't. It was really fun. It was like on a successor to Dead Island, where you could completely climb up anything. Very, very good free running, almost reminiscent of Mirror's Edge, mixed with the zombie slaying of Dead Island. So it was a really fun game, and actually finished the game as opposed to Evolve. So it was enjoyable, at least. There were a couple other flops. The Order 1886 for the PS4. Another big hyped game. Don Bradman Cricket. Not even know what that is.
That would be on an English website. Cricket's got to be there.
Well, Big Voodoo, what did you think of March? There were a few titles released. One of them I don't think anybody plays that game, even though it was majorly hyped.
So the big things that really stand out to me are going to be like Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, the HD Final Fantasy that came out, and Borderlands: The Handsome Collection all came out that month. Which, granted, none of those are anything new, but getting that remastered mix definitely was a trend for the entire year. And it looks like March was kind of the month that started that off.
Yeah, definitely. We did see the release of Bloodborne, exclusive for PlayStation 4, which I haven't made by the same people who made the Dark Souls games, and I have never been good at them. But man, and I nearly was not good at Bloodborne at all. But man, that game was cool aesthetically. It's just a gorgeous game and had a really cool gothic, medieval style. Really liked that one. But Britzza, did you play Battlefield Hardline at all? Does anybody even remember that game?
No, it's a Battlefield game. I played when I first got my Xbox One, like back in 2014, might have been. I got Battlefield 4, and then I realised very quickly that once you play one Battlefield game, you play them all. So yeah, I've never really bothered to pick one up. I mean, if the new one starts to do anything massively different, then I might, but not Hardline.
Right, and I think that was almost the majority of Battlefield players' consensus. Moving on to... Oh, go on.
No, sorry. Go on.
No, you go on.
I was just
you go on.
You go on. No, I was going to say exactly that. Unless it's pushing boundaries, then I think the Battlefield genre really isn't going to push... Yeah, it's not going to do much other than what it's doing now.
Man, I'm starting to realize how much 2015 was the year of game flops, because we move right into The Sims 4 being released, which then resulted in EA closing the studio that made The Sims to begin with. This was just another example of our overlords EA just kind of ruining a franchise, driving it into the ground. Unfortunately, The Sims 4... The Sims 4 really did a lot with The Sims. It made The Sims themselves a lot better, way more customization, way more you could do with them, and then took away all the features that 3 implemented. So, yeah. Another big hyped game that, yeah.
The Sims, I'm sure everyone's played The Sims at some point. You might not even like the franchise, but you know, they're not. The early ones aren't bad games, but these ones I don't think they've. I don't know what it is though. What is it about the recent Sim games they just got wrong?
Well, more and more things like over the years have been being added behind paywalls, and with The Sims 4, you could you'd open up your furniture tab to decorate your house, and maybe the first 2 options of it, you'd have 10 couches. The first 2 you could pay for with the in-game money. The other 2 you had to spend the other 8 you had to spend real money on. That was the ratio of in-game items versus paid items, and it was ridiculous. And they completely eliminated the ability to have your character actually walk around town and do all the things that they could do in 3. That wasn't even a thing in 4 for some reason.
Would you guys agree then, for the whole year, that there's been more stuff behind paywalls than ever?
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think there's a single AAA game that I can think of that doesn't have an essence of paywall. I mean, even Tomb Raider, for God's sake, has paywalls. And I just don't... It's everywhere now. It really is everywhere. So
I guess just another...
StarCraft.
Right. I was just about to say, with Blizzard's announcement of heroes not being paid in Overwatch, whenever they release new heroes, they are free. That was a big announcement right there. So good job on Blizzard. No real paywalls.
But I think it says a lot that they made that an announcement when a game developer has to say, by the way, big news, we won't charge you for things.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
That shows you the current state of where gaming really is, honestly. So I guess back to April, we did see Grand Theft Auto 5 finally come out on PC, which was by far the best iteration of the game. It looks fantastic on PC. If you have a PC to run it, that is the case though. Behind it, if you're expecting better than console quality, you gotta have a really beefy computer. But it is worth it if you do.
It's amazing on PC. The graphics engines when they turned up are just huge, hugely impressive.
And we saw Mortal Kombat X, which I never picked up because, I'm absolutely terrible at fighter games aside from Marvel vs. Capcom. But, I've heard great things about Mortal Kombat from anybody who's played it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the greatest Mortal Kombat ever because it feels like old school Mortal Kombat.
That's good.
And that's what all of the newer ones were typically missing. But other than that, it's still just a fighting game.
Now, does anybody know what State of Decay is? I see that on the list of releases here, and it like sounds familiar, but
it looks like a zombie survival game, Year 1 survival edition. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, I guess that shows how we must not been
Game of the Year 2015, maybe.
Well, in May we definitely saw one of the qualifiers for Game of the Year released.
Farming Simulator 15.
Yes.
Oh, not that one.
No, in May we saw The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt get released, and even though I never actually finished that game, man, was that game just brilliant, I guess is the word I can come to mind for that game. What did you guys think?
Big video.
Did you play it at all?
I actually didn't get a chance to play The Witcher because I was busy doing something or had no money. I don't really remember. But I didn't get the opportunity to. But everything I did see on it, because I did look into it, looked really good. And I haven't heard a complaint from pretty much anyone, so...
What about you, Britzza?
I picked it up when it came out. I've never played any of the previous Witchers, and I've never come across the novels. So I knew nothing going in. I was really happy that they took the time to explain it for new audiences. But saying that, I haven't played more than a handful of hours on it, simply because it's a bit like you said, Big Video. It was a time thing. Just didn't have the time to sink into it. And even now, when I put the disc into my Xbox One, it's prompting me to download a 17 gig patch update. So when I've got like 3 days spare to download that update and then start playing it, I might. But fantastic game. I genuinely think it will be Game of the Year. I think Fallout doesn't have enough of a punch to beat Witcher 3 to it.
That is very true. We'll get to that once we get to November. We also saw in May Splatoon. I don't know if either of you have a Wii U in your household. I do here. It's not mine. It is my roommate's, but I did have the opportunity to play Splatoon, and man, that is a really interesting, fun, unique shooter. I mean, you're shooting. It's like paint guns. You got paint rollers. The goal of the game is to cover the map with more paint than the opposing enemy team, and it's just a really unique, really fun, really quirky. If you have a Wii U, I'd recommend picking it up because it's silly and it's fun.
It's nice to see those games still doing well. That's the thing. Is something you can kill for a couple of minutes, an hour or so. Yeah. And there's not enough games like that. Again, it's time sinks. I think we're getting more and more casual with gaming, so it's good that there's games like that still.
Onward to June. Again, we continue with the game release
flops of the year.
Flops. Dare I even talk about Batman Arkham Knight?
The console, it was all right. Consoles, it's a good game. Consoles were fine.
We're not sitting here live streaming from our consoles now, are we?
Yeah. It wasn't too bad.
All right, Big Voodoo, why don't you cover the entirety of June here for us?
So Elder Scrolls Online
finally hit the
flopped.
Isn't that almost 2 years after, or was it a year or 2 years after it released on PC?
Something like that.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be a launch title for the PS4 and Xbox One. I remember,
and it still wasn't a very good game. Like even with the extra time sunk into it, there's a reason WoW still has a huge player base. Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition, another one of those, remastered games. That being said, Payday 2 was a really fun game and a great time sink.
Yeah.
Especially if you enjoy shooting at people while robbing banks.
In video games?
In video games. Or not, But then, like you said, Arkham Knight, let's not talk about it. And then,
let's just say that they offered full refunds to people who purchased it on PC.
Yeah. And then Final Fantasy XIV had its expansion release, Heaven's Word, which I played for a little while. Couldn't really get into, but it was a solid game.
I definitely see the appeal. What about you, Brits? Anything to comment on the month of June?
No, I think you covered it nicely. I would say it's, Heavensward is still potentially the largest MMO out there. So
there is a lot to that game. I mean, if you've ever actually taken the time to just try and kind of figure out like a class or try to play the opening, you're like, wow, there is a lot of depth to it, which is pretty nice.
And it all plays well.
Yes. Yeah. So no hate for that game at all, but WoW player.
Wow.
Britzza, why don't you take us into July?
I guess July is probably a bit light.
We did see another remastered game.
Yes, as God of War made its return. Admittedly, I've never played any of the God of Wars. They look fantastic, and again, it's nice to see that they're taking these games and giving them the treatment that the new consoles can deliver. But I don't know. I felt when all these were coming out, I don't know if you guys felt the same. It was their excuse for not having backwards compatibility. Was instead of you putting your old disc in, we'll resell you your games remastered, and it just I never liked that. So now that's starting to change.
I think the only game that I was okay with that with was the Halo Master Chief Collection. I was like, all of these games for one game price. Okay.
But and you got Halo 2.
Remastered. And Halo 3 just looked really good anyway. Like, not that they remastered it, but 60 frames per second was enough to remaster that one. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this isn't a Halo show.
Not yet. But apart from that, biggest flop probably of the month and another one of the year's got to be Godzilla. That did not go down.
Did that game even make it to US? I mean,
I think it was. I've seen US streamers review it. And they didn't do very well. I mean, anyone who's watched Angry Joe, check out his review. He absolutely slated it. I think gave it like a 1 out of 10. It was just complete rubbish. The controls were awful, and it was just boring. So, I suppose I don't know what Lego Jurassic World was like.
Yeah, that
might
have
actually been good.
Did anybody play that? No. Just to say, the Lego games have always been good. I mean,
exactly.
There's always silly. They're for kids, but they've never been bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good. All right, so August brings us into yet another installment of Madden NFL. Of course, that game did well. Everybody who has ever played Madden will always continue to buy Madden when it comes out. So
it's kind of like Call of Duty.
We saw, yet again, 2 remastered games come out. We saw Dishonored remastered and Gears of War remastered, which ultimately led to a lot of disappointment. We picked up Gears of War totally expecting it to be the remastered all 3 games, and it's just the first one. Seriously? But still, the first one was a good game.
Yeah.
The first one was a good game.
It was. Until Dawn, though, came out in August, which is, if you've ever played a Telltale game, for example, or Life is Strange, something like that, Until Dawn would kind of scratch that itch for you. It's a very just story-based game where you're just kind of walking your character around. There's not much action or gameplay to it. You're more just like an interactive story, and it's a horror game, the first horror game in this style. So I personally loved it. I thought it was very chilling. About a 6.5 hour game time, and it's pretty good.
So I feel the need to bring up Disney Infinity 3.0 was released in August.
Okay.
But Disney Infinity 2.0 was released in May?
May, yeah.
A 3-month gap. I find that a bit ridiculous. Granted, they do very well, and my kids love Disney Infinity, but
your wallet does not.
No, it does not.
It's like Infinity's doing with patches what we wish Blizzard would do with Warcraft.
Yeah.
Every 3 months would be a really good thing. But yeah, it just seems a bit... I guess it's for their chance to sell more of their characters, isn't it? And I guess what films came out in that time, because then they'll have all the characters for that, and they probably
between
part of the game.
The Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy was 2, and then 3 is Star Wars and stuff. So yeah,
and that's coming. All the Star Wars characters. So Infinity 4.0 is going to be out in next month probably.
That is
How
true.
depressing.
So, Big Voodoo, you want to lead us into September? September was, out of the big 3 months of game releases, I think September probably saw the least bad of it. I mean, despite what I think personally of Destiny, it did pretty well, so we can...
So, Destiny the Taken King actually made Destiny a decent game. However, I played Destiny when it first came out, and it kind of ruined Destiny for me.
I'm the same way.
But, I mean, there's a lot of big titles still that month. Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain was a fantastic game. I never actually got the chance to play it, but I've watched a few people, and I haven't heard, like, anything bad from it.
Yeah, I would agree. I have not played it, and I won't play it until I find it on sale, but I have heard so much good things about that game.
Yeah. And then, I mean, a lot of, not necessarily smaller titles released that same month, but not big serious ones. Stuff like Nintendo, Super Mario Maker.
Apparently that's done really well. A lot of people like that game.
Not surprising. Lego Dimensions released that month. New Skylanders released. FIFA and NBA 2K16 both released. I mean, there was a lot of stuff happening in the month. Just not a whole lot of stuff for, like, the really hardcore gamers to get into, I would say.
On a side note, there was Mad Max released in September, which went very much under people's radar as far as the game goes. Everybody just kind of figured it'd be a floppy, like, just, movie game. No one's going to want to play it. Apparently, from what I've heard, I haven't played it either, but apparently it is really good, the Mad Max. If it's anything to go off the movie, because the movie was really good, so.
I never saw the movie. There's so many films I missed in the middle of the year.
Second best film of 2015, I'd say.
Oh,
really?
Big claim.
You'd never guess what my number one movie of the year was.
Ant-Man.
Did that come out this year? Was that... Okay, yeah, no, it did come out this year. I thought it was last year for some reason.
Granted, I say that a little bit sarcastically, but it was a fantastic movie.
So yeah, we did see a lot of indie games also for September, right? I mean, like Brothers, Tearaway. We did see Skylanders as well. But September, not a bad month for gaming overall, really. Some cool titles thrown in there. Britzza, what about... Let's talk about October.
October. I think, yeah, this is... It's an interesting mix, because I think you were right, big video by talking about how it's kind of leading up to that November push. I think probably November was the big month. November was the big month. So you had the Fallout Anthology, which was a nice little warm-up to Fallout 4 by re-releasing the games. Just looking through here, I didn't know Beyond Earth had a... I'm thinking of something entirely different. I'm thinking of that Will Smith film. Remember where he did it with Jaden Smith? What was that called? Something Earth? I thought that was the film there for a second. Right. I was like, okay. No, I know what Beyond Earth is now. So that came out. I don't know if many people play the Civilization franchise.
I have. I
feel like Civ is Total War without the combat, so I'm like, nah.
Fair enough. Transformers Devastation came out. I've seen a lot of people picking it up. I don't know what the verdict is on it.
I've heard good things, honestly. I mean, as far as a Transformers game, it's definitely not the worst one. There have been some bad ones. I'll just say something both on Rock Band 4 and Guitar Hero Live both came out in October. So we got to see the return of the music genre with Guitar Hero being a much bigger, much better step forward than Rock Band was. Rock Band 4 was basically a graphics overhaul of Rock Band 3 without the keyboard, and the initial track list that came on the disc was terrible. So Rock Band 4 just did not innovate, where Guitar Hero Live literally changed the music games, right? The guitar is different. Right here. The guitar has like the 3 buttons on the top and the 3 buttons on the bottom, completely changing how you've played the music game to begin with. You're actually making chord shapes, whatnot. So yeah, I thought Guitar Hero was the winner of those 2 games by far.
I think just going quickly through the rest of October, I think probably the main games that stood out, you had the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, another sort of anthology putting together. I don't know what Tales of Systeria was like, but I know the Tales games are pretty fantastic, so that was probably good. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I don't know if the verdict's still kind of out on that one, because I haven't heard much about it. It might have been I think a lot of people get quite apathetic with Assassin's Creed games.
It was on. I mean, like, because we've heard so much bad things about the past Assassin's Creed games. This was the first one that I just really haven't heard much about at all. Really, so
my guess is it's
terrible.
My guess is it's probably a pretty decent game because when they weren't screwing up on the release of Assassin's Creed, they were great.
Right,
but no one has the faith to even bother looking at it at this point after
what was it, Revolution or no,
whatever the France one was.
Yeah.
It's got to the stage now where unless Total Biscuit is saying you need to buy this game, it's not really on my radar. I still haven't completed Unity, so it says a lot.
That's what it was, Unity. Yeah. We saw Halo 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
We saw it. Yeah.
I personally gave up on Halo after 4. I was done with it at that point. But I don't know. Did you played it? I'm sure, Britzza. Did you?
Yeah, I think 5 is a fantastic game, but I think it's interesting you said that we saw it because it did. To me personally, in my opinion, it was less about the combat evolved and it was more about flashy set pieces, this game, because which makes sense. It's telling a story, a really big story, but when you break it down, there wasn't too much going on. But saying that the multiplayer is fantastic and everyone agrees that the multiplayer is where the backbone of Halo is now, pretty much. So I think everyone's looking forward to 6. 6 has a lot of work cut out for it, but yeah, it was all right for what it was trying to be.
Let's see. What about Minecraft Story Mode? That was a thing.
Another Telltale game.
Another Telltale game, and it was the first Telltale game that I didn't play.
Really? Why? It was because it's Minecraft?
Because it's Minecraft Story Mode. I don't know.
The
idea did not appeal to me in any way, I guess. I figured it would be too silly or kind of more of a kid's style game, which, I mean, I love Telltale. I'm sure they made it a good game, but I don't know. It just didn't really strike my interest.
I guess when you compare it to, like, the grit of, like, the Game of Thrones
right.
series
or
that
the
they're
Walking
doing,
Dead or
Walking Dead, yeah, you probably think...
Yeah.
like PewDiePie's character getting savagely mauled by a sheep or something.
Right. So, yeah. So not a whole lot else for October. That pretty much covers it all. Then we could move right into the big one. We have November. I don't know. I'd say the highlight of November was the Xbox One Elite controller. I don't know if either of you have had a chance to touch that thing, but my roommate bought it. That thing is amazing. I need it. It's expensive, like $150, but I want it.
What is it about it that makes it
it comes with first off, it comes with 3 different sets of thumbsticks that you can interchange to which ones you want, which all feel different. 2 different D-pads, both feel really cool. All of the buttons are mechanical, like a keyboard, and it has 4 buttons on the back now that, like, under your trigger finger, or like if you're holding a controller, your ring finger and middle finger would be hitting these buttons.
Right.
And you can keybind any button, whether you're playing it on PC or a Windows 10 PC or Xbox One. You can literally rebind any button to do whatever you want, which is the first for consoles in general.
Awesome. I might have to check that out because that'd be really handy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We saw, I'll just quickly go through, we got the complete Telltale Game of Thrones was finished and released. We got Rise of the Tomb Raider, StarCraft Legacy of the Void, Fallout 4, Christmas Shopper Simulator 2, Bloodborne Game of the Year Edition, Assassin's Creed Syndicate again, Star Wars Battlefront, Need for Speed came back, I guess. Didn't even know that. And Black Ops 3. So let's kind of go over
Fallout
some
4?
of these. I did mention that.
Okay.
But we can kind of go over these now. But that was all the big releases that came out in November. There was quite a few of them. Starting, let's have our resident Call of Duty expert tell us about Black Ops 3.
So, Call of Duty is Call of Duty's Call of Duty. It's always, well, probably won't always be there, but it's Call of Duty. It's exactly what you expect it to be in every single game. They screwed it up once, and I've been struggling to kind of reattach myself to the game after Ghosts. But that being said, like, Advanced Warfare was definitely good. Black Ops 3, it's fantastic. I almost bought it, but, well, it was that or Legacy of the Void, and you know how I feel about StarCraft.
And yes, so we did see Legacy of the Void come out as well. I assume you're a fan of it.
Yeah! It's the greatest game ever. It's amazing how much support Blizzard has already put into it, even though they released the game, less than 2 months ago at this point.
We've seen a lot of patches already. Very good. So, Britzza, you and I have both picked up and played a good amount, I would assume, of Fallout 4.
I've played a little bit of it. I haven't got probably more than about 5 hours into it. So I was so late. Actually, I installed it and then just didn't play it for 3 weeks. But I've had enough to get a good taste of what's in store, at least. And it's fantastic.
It really is, but
amazing.
I would unfortunately say it was a little underwhelming in my opinion. There was just so much hype for it. It's a Bethesda game, and after Skyrim, as amazing as Skyrim was, being led up to Fallout 4, and it's not that I didn't like the game. I guess I just felt utterly, it's alright. I guess that's how I overall felt about Fallout.
I guess it's hard because it's not
a bad game in any way. No. I would not say it's a bad game.
But I guess it's nothing massively new.
It's Fallout. It's like
it's
the
Fallout.
Call of Duty thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. From we saw from Oblivion to Skyrim is not what we saw from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4. I guess is a good way to put that.
I guess it'd be cool if Fallout 5 was set years in the future, you're on a colony world which has been ravaged by a nuclear war.
There's actually a lot of people saying that Fallout 4 should be the last Fallout game, and Bethesda should make a new title in the style that they make games, and then also continue making Elder Scrolls because everybody loves Elder Scrolls.
I think that's a fair point, because I think what would Fallout 5 look like if they don't? It's just going to be the same.
Another post-apocalyptic nuclear.
Yeah. It's the same story told from different perspectives. And that's there's only so many times you can hand over $60 or 40, 50 quid to hear that story every other year. So saying that, but it depends what they do with DLC as well. Right. Like the season passes. So maybe there's some good stuff there they can get out, and maybe people might say, well, actually, maybe a 5's a good thing if they come out with some interesting content. But yeah, I think maybe they could hang it up.
And I guess the three of us, should discuss the utter disappointment that was Star Wars Battlefront. This game is the epitome of what we have been talking about through this whole podcast of games that get hyped and they're a great franchise, and then EA owns them. This game has no single player whatsoever. There are only 2 good multiplayer modes out of the 8 convoluted ones that exist, and for those two good modes to play, there are 3 maps. So
sounds like EA.
Yeah. And of course, EA released Evolve as well. And this is on top of the fact that they announced a month ahead of time that the DLC that was coming out is $50.
Oh,
just
yeah.
$10 short of the actual game price itself.
And it's not just that. Again, I'm just literally taking this from something Angry Joe did a video on. Mm-hmm. But you look at the things they were making you pay for, and they were things you'd unlock after 5 minutes of playing the game, and they were saying, come on, you can have this if you give us, you buy the premium versions and things like that. It's just and like dances for various characters. No one's ever used these. I've never seen anyone show off the dances. So it's utter rubbish that they're charging money for.
We can't put all the blame on DICE. DICE did it is a beautiful game. The graphics engine is amazing, and they captured the Star Wars aesthetic perfectly. You're playing the game and you're on Hoth, you see the walkers, it feels like a Star Wars game. They did a great job with that.
It feels huge. That's the thing as well.
But I just have to say that's where the good of the game ends. There is just the aesthetics. It's a great looking, beautiful Star Wars game. But
it's like one of those things where it's like you could have easily have had this as a demo of the capabilities of the consoles, and it could have been. It comes across more as an advert for the film, probably than anything else. They could have said, oh, actually, it's a playable trailer for the film where you play that scene where the X-Wing's going in the film and whatnot, or the final battle. Maybe you play a bit of that. That would be really cool. but as a game, it hasn't really added so much. So,
Big Voodoo. I mean, any comments on Star Wars?
Not really. No. It was so meh. That's the best way I can describe it as.
Mm-hmm. And then we move on to December, the final month, which did not see many, but what it did see were really good. We saw both Rainbow Six Siege and Just Cause 3 release in December. I didn't even think I would play Rainbow Six Siege, but a friend of mine has it, and it is good. It is just, it's solid multiplayer fun. Like, out of all the games that came out that are strictly multiplayer this year, I think Rainbow Six nailed it as far as replayability goes. It is really fun. Loads of maps to play on. Good competitive fun. And then, of course, Just Cause 3 it's more Just Cause. Everybody loved the second one. Why wouldn't you love the third one? And, I just have to go and say Star Wars Episode 7 came out in December, and my God. How can you go without saying that? That if that was a game, it'd be Game of the Year without any competition.
So just random thought back to Battlefield or Battlefront, that one. If you're gonna build like an exclusively multiplayer game, I don't understand why people don't release stuff like Plants vs. Zombies did. The Garden Warfare, which there's a second one coming out this year. They only charged $40 for it at release, and there wasn't a whole lot to it, but it was just fun. Yeah. It was one of those games. But as time has moved on, they have released a crap ton of DLC and given it to everyone for free, kind of. Like, you buy packs in the store, but you can get enough money to buy a pack with in-game currency really quick. Mm-hmm. Or, you can pay real money, kind of like buying Hearthstone packs, But I loved that thought because it gave a lot of options really cost efficiently, and if you wanted to sink money into it, you could.
All right, that is a good.
No, I think that is a good point, because I think one of the things that could potentially, could save Battlefront, it's probably a bit late if they haven't already done it, but if they had, like you said, Big Voodoo, DLC packs that you could, like how Halo's in-game currency works. You get I don't know what it's called, even the currency, but you can earn that out
Republic
of pretty
credits.
It probably is Republic credits. Let's call it Republic credits. But you can earn those to get gold packs pretty quickly. And if you were unlocking things like alternate versions of TIE fighters, or even like silly things like different coloured lightsabers for Luke or whatever. That I think could get people going, but it's got to be content. Was that what they were adding to Plants vs. Zombies? Was it like different?
Yeah, there's different or new maps they released entirely for free to everyone. Like alternate versions of the characters you'd play in multiplayer, they released in their little packs that they did, and then just different little cosmetic stuff all came in new packs as well.
I think that'd be good. It would have been nice to see it, but it's EA.
Well,
they'll take your chair if they can.
And it gives you something to work towards. Like, that's one of the biggest things with games. Give someone a reason to continue playing.
Not just buying dances for your day.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so now that we have covered basically all that 2015 had to offer, I think it's time we each kind of decide what was the best of 2015, our own personal games of the year. So, we'll start off with our long-lost compadre, Zool. He actually submitted his own best game of the year. He did not explain why, but Zool said Pillars of Eternity was his favorite game of 2015. Didn't play that one at all? Go on.
No, I was going to say, he said multiple times how much he loves this game. Yeah. So, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that is his vote. We'll start with you, Big Voodoo. What was your game of 2015?
It's got to be StarCraft. I have never sunk so much of my life into a single video game, except maybe WoW, but definitely not this year. Like, I've played somewhere around 3,000 plus matches, I think now. Like,
wow.
Yeah. It has consumed my life. Also, this year in StarCraft, which also makes me love it more, Season 1 of 2015, I hit Gold for the first time. Gold League. And
nice.
Season 4 of 2015, I finally hit Platinum. So, I'm feeling good about it.
I hit Silver League for the first time this year. Britzza, your game, 2015.
See, my game wasn't on any of the lists we discussed, but again, I said it before.
Neither was mine.
I think Heroes of the Storm for me has been the game of the year, and that's not me like sucking up to Blizzard. That's genuinely because League of Legends has never kept a hold on me. I don't know why. I think it's just the feel of the game and whatnot, but Heroes has completely changed my perceptions on MOBAs and just really whether they're a game I want to sink time into. I have played loads of matches and it's never got bored. It does get frustrating, but like any game, it gets frustrating. But I just think what they've done with it and where it's going and the amount of energy that the community's putting into it and how much Blizzard loves this, I genuinely think that, you know, it's the start of something that's going to be massive. And I genuinely think, you know, despite what I said earlier, back in early 2015, I think, you know, this could really make a big change on the esports stage. So, you know, I've got to go for Heroes.
I would have to say my game of the year would be Life is Strange, actually. Don't know if you guys played it, looked into it at all. It was a game by an indie French developer, I believe they're French, and then actually published by Square Enix.
Okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
But it's a very much just captures, like, a lot of people call it high school emo simulator, or hipster simulator, something like that. But it's a very acoustic game is how I describe it, because you get so much acoustic music going on. It's a very, very story driven game. I'm probably playing it right now for the third time, because there's so many different ways the game can go. Ends up turning into a murder mystery that you did not expect it to even become. Again, it's like a Telltale game, very story driven, and that's all you're really doing is just progressing a story along. But I just absolutely love the game.
And funny enough, excuse me, I say funny enough, it's had 33,000 reviews on Steam, and the average rating is 10 out of 10. Yeah. So yeah, it looks pretty awesome. And it's apparently on sale, 50% off. So if that's not a plug, I don't know what is.
All right, so
Steam, give us money.
Yes.
So with 2015 out of the way, we look onward to this year of 2016. There's a ton to look forward to, gaming and movie-wise. But if there are any gaming New Year resolutions, Britzza, what do you have?
I'd like to complete WoW's legendary ring quest. I'd like to think I could. Because I think it'd be a bit disappointing to go past Warlords. It's scary to think that before we know it, we'll be on Legion's doorstep. I mean, 6 months to go isn't that long.
Right.
I say 6 months. They wait. Technically, it could be in September, but I think it'll be June. I think it'll be next week, actually. But yeah, I think really I want to. My New Year's resolutions in terms of gaming, I want to try, and this is more of an Epic Geeks of Azeroth thing. I want to do more streaming with Heroes of the Storm, because again, I'm absolutely loving that game. So I want to see how far I can do in that, and see if I can actually become good at it. It does take time, and it takes effort to actually, you know, understand how all the characters balance off. And I guess in team picks as well, what I've seen in ranked play is that you kind of have to understand the math. Like, right, my 4 teammates have chosen this, so I really need to choose this hero, and I need to make sure I've got them. So yeah, I think I'd like to give that a shot at least. Probably fail, so I might be saying the same thing in 2017. But and pick up Legacy of the Void.
I was gonna say, is there any then? Besides your resolution, is there just any game in particular that you have in mind that's coming up, or new thing in gaming that you'd like to keep an eye out for 2016?
I'd like to see if I can pick up an Oculus Rift, because there's some really cool stuff coming out with that. I'll need a bucket load of paracetamol to stop the headaches, but yeah, I think that would be quite cool just to see, because it sounds like there's going to be a lot of indie developers who tie that into games, and I think, you know, why not see that as it's coming out rather than like 3 years down the line when it's got a bit old. So I'd like to see what's going on there.
All right, Big Voodoo, I think I can guess what your gaming resolution is going to be, but let's go ahead and hear it.
All right, resolution first. My goal is Master League by the end of this year.
Master League. Wow, you're
League.
shooting high.
I figure I'm pretty close to Diamond S's, so that would definitely be a much more easily achievable goal. But I want to shoot for Master by the end of the year. I don't think I'll ever get GM, but I'm gonna shoot for Master.
All right. What about what game or gaming idea, anything in gaming that you're really looking forward to? 2016.
So there's a crap ton. So I'm just gonna list it off really quick here. Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Overwatch. Yes. I want to see more on Recore and Scalebound, because both of those looked like really neat ideas for games. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Legion looks fantastic. And then separate multiplayer ratings for each race in StarCraft. I think those are my big ones.
All right, very cool. My gaming resolution will be, there's not too many games that I actually shoot for real high rating at as far as being competitive, but that will change in 2016 when Overwatch is released. I shoot to be very competitive in Overwatch. That is the game that I will try hard at for sure. I look to be hopefully high rated if there is a single solo queue rating thing. Hope to get very high on that because I'll never have 6 people to have a team, but solo queue rating, it's gonna happen. As far as what I'm looking forward to, I really do feel like 2016 could be the year VR actually makes, like you said, Britzza. I think 2016 is the year of VR in gaming because it's not just the Oculus Rift now. There is the Steam one that is going to be coming out, consumer version in 2016. The PlayStation VR is going to be coming out in 2016. And of course the Oculus Rift consumer version is coming out in 2016, even possibly the Microsoft HoloLens. So we have so much to actually look forward to as far as consumer grade virtual reality. Definitely something I'm going to be.
Funny thing, again, a complete rumor. So I'll naturally say I'm confirming this, but apparently VR might be coming to BlizzCon 2016. Ooh. So I don't know. Someone just threw that at me in a conversation once about how apparently they've been talking about what they could do in terms of VR, but who knows? They might say you get a VR, cameras, which you can log into and things like that. So who knows?
That would be very cool.
Unlikely, but possible.
All right. So with that, we are wrapping up here the show. We have one little last bit to do, and if you recall the last show we did, we had a competition where we wanted people to tweet us their best boss mechanic for a new raid fight, and the runner-up for that I heard, it's really hilarious, and it's just because it's not serious, I can't give it the win, but it was the lag monster, and he would completely kick you out of World of Warcraft, make you log out, and you would have to log back in before dying in order to complete the fight. So the runner-up goes to the lag monster. I definitely like that idea, but that could never actually happen. So the winner of the competition and a pet of your choice goes to Bravoran on Twitter with his suggestion: boss does AoE damage equal to the amount of healing done to the raid. DPS must down adds in that phase and use interrupts to avoid add damage. So that is definitely a very interesting boss mechanic. But I could actually see being in World of Warcraft. That would be very interesting. So, Bravoran, we will message you on Twitter to get the details, but you are the winner. Congratulations of your very own whatever pet you choose. Obviously, I can't give you the Legion pet because I would have to pre-order Legion for you. That's not happening.
You did say any pet, Tarley.
Curses. With that, it's time to wrap up the show. Where is my background music? There it is. It's time to wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody, for a great 2015 of Geeks of Azeroth. We've had a lot of changes. We brought Big Voodoo onto the show. Promise Zul will make his way back eventually. He has computer troubles, but he will be back in 2016. 2016 is going to be a great year for the show and for Epic Geeks in general. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. You can always find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Twitch. You can check us out on Twitter at Geeks of Azeroth. You can find me personally at Tarley_pause, and you can find our long-lost Zul at ZulGeek. Britzza, where can we find you?
You can find me at Britzza_EG.
And Big Voodoo.
You can find me at Big Voodoo, all in Leet Speak. It's B1GV00D00.
If you win
Man,
BlizzCon, is that how you're going to spell it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it will
The announcer's
be.
going to hate you. They're going to absolutely hate you.
And remember to check out www.epicgeeks.co.uk for all the content we produce. There is a ton to check out there from all the Epic Geeks family, so definitely check it out. Otherwise, we will see you not the same time or same place. It will continue not this Sunday, but the next Sunday with our regular showtime. Hope everybody has a happy new year and have a great time in Azeroth.
This podcast is part of the Epic Geeks Network. To find out more about our other gaming podcasts, head to epicgeeks.co.uk.